You called your own mother a burden in front of the whole neighborhood? That's what my son said, right before he slapped me at our block party. But what they didn't know? That house? It was mine. I built it with sacrifice, skipping meals so he could go to college, giving up my nursing dreams to raise him. And now, he wanted to use it as collateral, to erase me like I was just another bill he couldn't pay. I'm 62 years old. I've been betrayed, locked out of my own bedroom and made to feel like a guest in the very home I built. But I didn't stay silent. I fought back, with a diary, a hidden key, and the help of one fierce friend who refused to let me disappear. If you watch until the end, you'll see how I sold the house out from under my son, exposed his lies, and started a brand new life on my terms. You'll learn how to protect your voice, your value, and your peace, even after 60. This isn't just a story, it's a warning. My son smashed my wedding photo, but when the sheriff handed him the eviction notice, he froze. Because I held the deed, I held the truth. And if you think this couldn't happen to you, think again. Don't wait until they take your silence for surrender. Watch now, before it's too late. Before I share what really happened, I'd love to know a little about you. Are you more of a night owl or an early bird? Drop a 1 if you usually stay up late, or a 2 if you go to bed early. I read every comment, and who knows, your answer might shape the next chapter I tell. Let's begin this journey together. Ready? I carried a tray of grilled chicken to the potluck, the foil crinkling under my fingers. My son Marcus didn't even look up from his phone. Was I already disappearing in my own home? The rose garden out back bloomed brighter than ever, its pink petals swaying like they held secrets I'd soon need. The farmer's market potluck buzzed around me, set in our middle-class suburban neighborhood, United States, June 2024. White tents lined the street, shading tables piled with apple pie and coleslaw. A portable speaker hummed jazz, its notes mingling with the smoky scent of grilled chicken. Kids darted between picnic blankets, their laughter sharp. My 3-bedroom home stood a block away, its rose garden a quiet anchor. That house held my life's sacrifices, nights without heat to pay for Marcus's college, dreams of nursing school set aside for James's military career. I smoothed my apron, smiling as neighbors praised my chicken. "Ellie, you outdid yourself," Mrs. Jenkins said, her fork scraping her plate. My chest warmed. I was 62, still devoted to this community, to my family. But my role felt like it was slipping, like sand through my fingers. I wanted to keep us close, Marcus, Sophia, little Jasmine, but their eyes rarely met mine anymore. Marcus arrived late, his sneakers scuffing the grass. His wife, Vanessa, trailed behind, her sunglasses perched high. They didn't greet me. Vanessa tapped her phone, muttering, #suburban chic. My heart sank, but I kept serving, the tongs clicking in my hand. Marcus, 38, was always distracted now, his tech startup's failure weighing heavy. I'd poured my savings into his dreams, but he acted like I owed him more. Vanessa, same age, saw my home as her ticket to some Instagram perfect life. I pushed the thought away, offering her a plate. She waved it off, her nails glinting. Sophia, my daughter, showed up next, her city suit wrinkled from the drive. At 35, she was swamped with her marketing job, her eyes tired. She'd held a grudge since I missed her 18th birthday, working double shifts to cover her braces. I tried to share a story about her dad, James, and his old jazz records. "Ma, I'm swamped with work," she said, her voice clipped. She turned to her phone, scrolling. My throat tightened. I wanted to bridge that gap, but her walls were high. Jasmine, my 17-year-old granddaughter, tugged my sleeve. "I'll help, Grandma," she said, stacking plates. Her brown eyes were sharp, noticing things. School was tough for her, exams, cliques, and her parents' neglect. She saw me as her rock, the one who told stories of picking roses with James. "They're acting weird," she whispered, glancing at Marcus and Vanessa. I nodded, my hands trembling as I wiped a plate. I carried empty dishes to a table, the jazz music softening. Marcus stood nearby, his phone glowing. I cleared my throat. Marcus, how about a family dinner soon, like old times? His jaw tightened. You don't get how the world works now, Mom, he snapped, loud enough for heads to turn. Vanessa smirked, adjusting her sunglasses. This house could use a modern vibe, Ellie. Her voice dripped like I was a tenant. My cheeks burned, but I nodded, hiding the sting. Neighbors glanced away, their forks scraping awkwardly. Life's funny that way. You give everything and they forget you're there. I'd learned to smile through it, to keep the peace. But peace felt like a weight tonight. I slipped to the dessert table, grabbing a slice of apple pie. Jasmine followed, her sneakers squeaking. You okay, Grandma? She asked. I forced a smile, my fingers brushing her braid. Just tired, Jazz. But my heart ached, like a bruise spreading. I glanced at my house, its windows catching the sunset. That house was mine. Every nail, every payment. I'd patched the roof in '89, skipped meals for Marcus's tuition. Now it felt like they were erasing me. As I cleared a table, Marcus's phone sat unattended, its screen lit. A text flashed, "We need the house for collateral." My breath caught. Collateral? For what? His startup was dead, his debts piling up. I stepped back, the tray rattling in my hands. Was he planning something? My mind spun, but I kept moving, the jazz music masking my unease. What would you do if you saw your child plotting behind your back, right in your own home? If you're still with me, drop a 5 in the comments, because what I found next made me question everything I thought I knew. The potluck wound down, neighbors folding chairs, the air thick with pie crust and summer heat. I stood alone by my rose garden, its petals glowing pink. I felt erased, like a photo left to fade, but a spark flickered in me, sharp as a thorn. I wasn't done yet. Family's supposed to lift you, not push you aside. I'd given them everything. Could I take it back? I started toward home, the jazz fading behind me. Marcus's voice carried on the breeze, low and sharp to Vanessa. Ma's clinging to this house like it's her life. My steps slowed, the rose garden scent wrapping around me. Was I their mother, or just a shadow they stepped over? Marcus wanted my bedroom for Vanessa's comfort. Did he think I'd shrink into nothing? The guest room's creaky floorboards hid a truth I wasn't ready for. The summer evening was quiet, fireflies flickering outside my suburban home. Inside, the master bedroom held James's old pocket watch, ticking softly on the dresser, and faded photos of us laughing in the rose garden. 30 years of memories clung to those walls. Now I stood in the hallway facing the drafty guest room with its peeling floral wallpaper and a single flickering bulb. The air felt cold, like the house itself was turning on me. I gripped a stack of towels, my knuckles whitening. Marcus stood in the kitchen, his voice sharp. Vanessa's back hurts, Ma. You're smaller. The guest room's fine for you. His sneakers scuffed the linoleum, his eyes avoiding mine. At 38, he carried the weight of his failed tech startup, debts piling up like unpaid bills. I'd emptied my savings for his dreams, but he acted like I owed him this house, too. This was mine in James's room for 30 years, I said, my voice steady but cracking. He shrugged, his jaw tight. Things change, Ma. I wanted to hold my ground, to keep my family whole, but the ground felt like it was slipping away. I'd always been the one to bend, skipping meals for Marcus's college, setting aside nursing school for James's military career. Now my chest ached with a familiar hurt, deeper this time. Sophia arrived, her heels clicking as she stepped into the living room. Her city suit was crisp, but her eyes were tired from her marketing job. She'd been distant since I missed her 18th birthday, working double shifts to pay for her braces. I hoped she'd see my side. Ma, just let them have it, she said, her voice flat. It's not worth a fight. My throat tightened, her words a quiet betrayal. Vanessa swept in, her perfume sharp, holding a keypad lock. Privacy matters, she said, smirking as she installed it on the master bedroom door. The beep of the lock setting echoed, my chest tightening like a vice. Vanessa, 38, saw my home as her stage, a backdrop for her Instagram perfect life. My fingers clenched the towels, but I said nothing, my hurt swallowing my voice. Jasmine slipped beside me, her sneakers soft on the hardwood. "Dad's wrong, Grandma," she whispered, her brown eyes fierce. At 17, she struggled with school, exams, cliques, and her parents' neglect. She clung to me, the one who told stories of picking roses with James. "Let's move your stuff," she said, grabbing a box. We carried my clothes to the guest room, the floorboards creaking underfoot. The room was cold, the mattress stiff, one outlet sparking uselessly. I set down a box, my hands trembling. Jasmine's fingers brushed mine, warm and steady. As we unpacked, I opened the guest room dresser, its drawers sticking. Inside one, a locked diary lay tucked beneath old linens, its leather worn. My breath caught. Was this James's? I ran my fingers over the cover, my heart racing. Sacrifice had defined me, giving up dreams, warmth, time for my kids. But sacrifice wasn't supposed to erase you. I flipped open the diary's cover and a small key fell out, taped inside, glinting in the dim light. My fingers shook as I held it, the metal cold. What did it unlock? James had been gone 5 years, his military medals still in a shoebox somewhere. Did he leave something behind? Jasmine leaned close, her braid brushing my shoulder. "What's that, Grandma?" she whispered. I shook my head, tucking the key into my pocket. "Not sure yet, Jazz." I lay on the guest room's stiff mattress that night, the keypad's beep still ringing in my ears, like a door slamming on my life. My hurt hardened, a quiet resolve stirring. I'd given them everything. Could I take it back? The fireflies blinked outside, their glow faint through the cracked window. Vanessa's laugh cut through the locked master bedroom door, sharp and smug. "This house feels like ours now," she said, her voice carrying. I clutched the key in my pocket, the guest room's chill wrapping around me. My mind raced with possibilities. Did I give them my home, or did they steal my heart? Marcus called me a burden in front of everyone. Could I still stand tall after that? The rose garden's thorns pricked my fingers this morning, whispering fight. The church fish fry buzzed in the community lot, summer 2025, the air thick with fried fish and cornbread aromas. Folding tables sagged under platters, gospel music hummed from a speaker, its notes curling like smoke. My 3-bedroom home stood across the street, its rose garden a quiet anchor, pink blooms glowing in the dusk. I'd tended those roses through storms, through James's deployments, through nights without heat to pay for Marcus's dreams. Now at 62, I stood behind a table, serving cornbread, my apron starched, my smile practiced. Neighbors nodded, their plates clinking. "Ellie, you're a blessing," old Mr. Davis said, his fork scraping. But my family's eyes slid past me, like I was fading. Marcus arrived, his sneakers heavy on the grass. Vanessa trailed, her sunglasses perched high, her phone flashing as she snapped photos. They didn't look my way. Marcus, 38, carried the weight of his failed tech startup, debts piling like unpaid bills. I'd emptied my savings for him, but he acted entitled to my home. Vanessa, same age, played the queen, my house her stage for Instagram glory. Sophia hesitated at the table's edge, her city suit rumpled, her eyes tired. At 35, she was still sore about her 18th birthday when I worked double shifts for her braces. Her weak smile stung, but I offered her cornbread. She took a piece, murmuring, "Thanks, Ma," before turning away. I sliced cornbread, the knife scrape steadying me. Jasmine, my 17-year-old granddaughter, slid beside me, her braid swinging. "I got you, Grandma," she said, stacking plates. School was rough. Exams, cliques, her parents' neglect. But she leaned on me, the one who told rose garden stories. "They're ignoring you again," she whispered, her eyes narrowing at Marcus. My chest ached, but I kept serving, my hands steady. Hurt was familiar. I'd carried it since James's death, since Sophia's distance. But tonight it cut deeper. Marcus stood near the dessert table, his voice loud. "Ma, we're too busy for your old family dinners," he said when I suggested a Sunday meal. His tone was sharp, heads turning. You're a burden, Ma, outdated. He pushed me toward the path to our house, his hand firm on my shoulder. My feet stumbled, the crowd gasping. Vanessa laughed, her voice slicing. She's lucky we keep her, Marcus. My cheeks burned, my apron twisting in my fists. Neighbors froze, their forks hovering. Sophia watched, her eyes wide, but she said nothing. Her silence a fresh wound. Jasmine stepped forward, her voice fierce. She's our family, Dad. I steadied myself, my heart pounding like a drum. I'd built their lives, Marcus's college, Sophia's braces, this home. They didn't get to erase me. Love shouldn't feel like a weight, but theirs did. I straightened, my voice low but clear. I built your life, Marcus, I said, the words cutting through the gospel music. The crowd hushed, eyes on me. My defiance flared, though my heart ached, a bruise spreading. Jasmine's hand brushed mine, warm and sure. Sophia's lips parted, but she stayed silent, her guilt flickering. As I turned to clear plates, my fingers brushed a crumpled note in my apron pocket. I unfolded it, Sophia's handwriting shaky. I was wrong about you, Ma. My breath caught. Was she waking up? I clutched the note, its edges soft, my anger stirring. Sophia's guilt tied to that missed birthday hinted at a bridge we might rebuild. Marcus's cruelty, born of his startup's collapse, burned hotter. Jasmine's protectiveness, fueled by her parents' neglect, anchored me. I started toward home, the gospel music softening, Sophia's note heavy in my hand. Marcus's voice carried from the crowd, low to Vanessa. We'll get the deed soon, he said, his words sharp as thorns. My steps slowed, the rose garden scent wrapping around me, my anger brewing. Was my love their burden or their excuse? Sophia's note begged forgiveness, but Lily's words hinted at deeper secrets. Was there more to James's silence than I knew? The rose garden's petals swayed outside my window, like they held truths I'd soon uncover. The coffee shop near Lily's law office smelled of latte steam, its soft jazz humming through the air. Summer 2025 wrapped our suburban town in calm, the shop's wooden tables warm under my fingers. I sat across from Lily, clutching Sophia's note, its edges creased. My guest room at home, dim and drafty, waited for me, the rose garden's pink blooms visible through a cracked window. At 62, I felt betrayed. By Marcus, by Sophia, by the home I'd built with James. I'd given up nursing school for his military career, skipped meals for Marcus's college. Now, their dismissal cut deep, my hurt turning to anger. Lily sipped her latte, her gray eyes sharp. At 68, she carried her own pain, estranged from her son over his addiction. My son shut me out, Ellie, she said, her voice low. Don't let Marcus do the same. She leaned closer, her bracelet clinking. James might have left something in the guest room, something to help you. Her words landed like a spark. James, gone 5 years, had been distant in life, but could he have left a truth behind? I nodded, my fingers tightening on Sophia's note. I found a diary, I said. Locked. Lily's smile was sly. Check it, Ellie. Secrets don't stay buried. I walked home, the jazz fading behind me, the summer air heavy. My guest room greeted me with its peeling floral wallpaper, the single bulb flickering. Sophia stood at the door, her city suit wrinkled, her eyes hesitant. At 35, she carried guilt from our rift, my missed shift at her 18th birthday, when I worked to pay her braces. I was wrong, Ma, she said, her voice breaking. I shut you out after my birthday. I'm sorry. My chest softened, but the hurt lingered. Words aren't enough yet, Sophia, I said, my tone firm but kind. She nodded, stepping inside. Let me help you look. Her hands trembled, eager to mend what she'd broken. Jasmine slipped in, her sneakers soft on the creaky floorboards. I'm here, Grandma, she said, her braids swinging. At 17, school stress, exams, cliques, her parents' neglect, made her cling to me. Her loyalty was my anchor, her eyes bright with hope. We opened the dresser, its drawers groaning. The locked diary sat inside, its leather worn. "What's in it?" Jasmine whispered, her fingers brushing mine. I shook my head, my heart pounding. Sacrifice had defined me, giving up dreams for James, warmth for my kids. But their silence was louder than their thanks. Sophia knelt beside me, her perfume faint. "Let's find out, Ma." We searched the dresser, my hands shaking. Jasmine checked the closet, her gasp sharp. "Grandma, look!" She held a small recording device, its red light blinking faintly. My breath caught. Was this Marcus's? Vanessa's? The device felt heavy, like it held more than sound. I dialed Lily, the phone's ring sharp in the quiet room. "Found a recorder," I said. Lily's voice crackled. "Open the diary first, Ellie. Truth's your weapon now." Her words lit a fire in me, anger rising. Marcus's plan to seize the deed, overheard last night, wasn't the whole story. Something bigger was coming. I sat on the guest room's stiff mattress, the diary in my lap, the key from its cover cold in my hand. My anger burned, no longer just hurt. Marcus's greed, Sophia's past distance, Vanessa's smirk. They'd pushed me too far. I'd built this home, patched its roof, paid its bills. They didn't get to erase me. Jasmine sat close, her warmth steadying me. Sophia's eyes met mine, full of regret. "We'll fix this, Ma," she said. I nodded, my resolve hardening. I'd unlock the diary, find the truth. Outside, Vanessa's laugh cut through the master bedroom door, sharp and smug. "This house is ours soon, babe," she said to Marcus. My fingers tightened on the recorder, its red light blinking like a warning. The guest room's chill wrapped around me, but the rose garden scent slipped through the cracked window, urging me on. Was my family's silence louder than their words? James's letter tore open old wounds. Did he know I'd need this fight now? The rose garden's scent drifted through the cracked window, like James was whispering from the past. The guest room was dim, lit by a single lamp that flickered like my heart. Summer 2025 cloaked our suburban street in quiet, the rose garden's shadows dancing outside. I sat on the stiff mattress, the locked diary heavy in my lap. Its leather was worn, like the years I'd given up for James's military career, for Marcus's college, for Sophia's braces. At 62, I was done being invisible. Marcus's plan to seize the deed, overheard last night, burned in my chest. The recording device Jasmine found blinked its red light in the corner, a silent warning. My anger wasn't just hurt anymore. It was a fire ready to blaze. I turned the key, the diary's lock clicking open. Inside, James's handwriting stared back, shaky but clear. "Ellie, I'm sorry I took you for granted. There's an inheritance in my name. Don't let Marcus steal it." My hand shook, the paper crinkling. An inheritance? James, gone 5 years, had been distant in life, focused on his career while I gave up nursing school. Now, his words cut deep, regret mingling with a secret. Marcus knew about this, didn't he? His startup's failure, his debts, they'd twisted him into someone who'd betray me. My fingers tightened, anger flaring like a match. Sophia stood by the dresser, her city suit creased, her eyes wide. At 35, she carried guilt from our rift, my missed shift at her 18th birthday, when I worked to keep us afloat. She read the letter over my shoulder, her breath catching. "Ma, I should have seen your strength," she said, her voice breaking. "I'll help you." Jasmine, perched on the bed, nodded fiercely. "We're with you, Grandma." At 17, school stress, exams, cliques, her parents' neglect, made her cling to my fight. Her loyalty warmed me, but the letter's weight pressed harder. "Marcus hid this," I said, my voice low. Sophia's jaw tightened. "He's changed, Ma. He's desperate." Jasmine's eyes narrowed. "He's wrong." We sat there, the lamp's flicker casting shadows, piecing together Marcus's plan. He wanted the house, the inheritance, everything. I grabbed my phone, the screen glowing in the dim room. Lily's number flashed as I dialed, the ring sharp. Lily, 68. answered, her voice steady despite her own pain, estrangement from her son over his addiction. Found a letter, I said, my words rushed. James left an inheritance. Marcus knows. Lily's breath hissed through the phone. I'll check the records, Ellie. That inheritance is yours. She paused, her tone sharp. Sell the house, secure it now. Sophia's hand brushed mine, her eyes fierce. I'll stand by you, Ma. Jasmine squeezed my other hand, her braids swinging. I nodded, my anger hardening into resolve. This house, my roof, my sacrifices, was mine. I'd sell it before Marcus could steal it. The recording device sat on the dresser, its red light blinking like a pulse. I pressed play, my fingers trembling. Marcus's voice crackled through, low and urgent. We'll get the deed and the inheritance soon. My stomach twisted. The words confirmed it. His greed, his betrayal. Sophia's face paled, her guilt flaring. I should have stopped him, she whispered. Jasmine's fists clenched. He doesn't deserve you, Grandma. The lamp flickered, the rose garden scent slipping in, heavy and sweet. I'd given everything, my dreams, my warmth, my home. They didn't get to take my worth. I stood, the diary still in my hands, James's words echoing. His regret wasn't just an apology, it was a call to fight. I'd sell the house, reclaim what was mine. My anger wasn't a wound anymore, it was a plan. Sophia and Jasmine watched me, their eyes bright with hope. Lily's voice lingered in my mind, her legal savvy my shield. Her own loss, her son's rejection, made her fierce for me. Sophia's reconciliation, born of her birthday guilt, gave me strength. Jasmine's loyalty, her school stress, eased by my stand, anchored me. I set the diary down, my resolve a quiet fire. But as I turned, Vanessa's tablet lay on the dresser, left open from her earlier visit. An email glowed on the screen. Inheritance is ours if we move fast. My breath caught, the words sharp as thorns. Vanessa's greed matched Marcus's, their plan laid bare. The guest room's lamp flickered, my resolve hardening like the rose garden's roots. Was James's regret my burden or my spark? I signed the sale papers in secret. Did Marcus think he'd outsmarted me? The rose garden's petals fell outside like secrets ready to spill. The public library was quiet, its soft keyboard clicks a steady hum. Summer 2025 draped our suburban town in heat. The air thick as I sat across from Lily. My home waited a few blocks away, its guest room drafty, its kitchen tense. The rose garden loomed outside, its pink blooms my only constant. At 62, I was done being erased. Marcus's recorded plan to steal the inheritance, Vanessa's email plotting the same. They'd lit a fire in me. My anger wasn't just a spark now, it was a blaze, fueling my resolve to protect what was mine. Lily slid the sale papers across the library table, her pen tapping. At 68, her gray eyes carried the weight of her own estrangement, her son lost to addiction. They'll never see this coming, she whispered, her bracelet clinking. The cash buyer's offer was clean, no contingencies. I signed, my hand steady, the pen scratch loud in the hush. It's mine to sell, I said, my voice low. Lily nodded, her smile sharp. You're taking back your life, Ellie. My chest swelled, powerful for the first time in years. I'd given up nursing school for James's career, skipped meals for Marcus's college. This house, my roof, my sweat, was my legacy. Marcus wouldn't steal it. I walked home, the library's hush lingering. The kitchen smelled of Vanessa's spilled coffee, her tablet glowing on the counter. She stood by the master bedroom, her voice sharp. This place will scream luxury, she said, gesturing at the walls. New paint, new vibe. At 38, she saw my home as her stage, a backdrop for her Instagram dreams. Sophia, sitting at the table, rolled her eyes. She's clueless, Ma, she whispered, her city suit creased. At 35, her guilt over our rift, my missed shift at her 18th birthday, drove her to prove her loyalty. I squeezed her hand, my resolve hardening. Let her talk, I said. Vanessa's arrogance blinded her, but I saw clearly now. Jasmine slipped into the kitchen, her sneakers soft. "Dad's fighting with her again," she whispered, her braids swinging. At 17, school stress, exams, cliques, her parents' neglect made her cling to my defiance. We listened as Marcus's voice rose from the living room, sharp with desperation. "We're drowning in debt, Vanessa," he snapped, his startup's collapse a raw wound. I'd poured my savings into his dreams, but he acted like I owed him this house. Vanessa laughed, cold. "Just get the deed, babe." Jasmine's eyes met mine, wide with worry. "Dad's desperate," she said. I nodded, slipping upstairs to the guest room, my hands packing essentials, a few clothes, James's pocket watch. My plan stayed hidden, like a seed under soil. In the guest room, the lamp flickered, casting shadows on the floral wallpaper. I knelt by the rose garden's window, its scent heavy. A crumpled note lay tucked under a rock outside, its edges damp. I retrieved it, my fingers brushing thorns. "Check the inheritance papers. Urgent," it read in unfamiliar scrawl. My breath caught. Was this James's doing? His letter, found yesterday, had revealed his regret and an inheritance Marcus hid. This note was another piece, another weapon. I tucked it into my Bible next to the sale agreement, my resolve unbreakable. "This house is mine," I whispered, the words of vow. Sophia's commitment, her hands helping me search, gave me strength. Jasmine's loyalty, her school stress eased by my fight, anchored me. Lily's savvy, born of her own family loss, was my shield. I'd given everything, my dreams, my warmth, my home. They didn't get to take my worth. But as I closed the Bible, Marcus's voice echoed from downstairs, on the phone. "We'll transfer the deed next week," he said, his tone sharp. My heart raced, the note's words burning in my mind. The rose garden's scent steadied me, its petals falling like secrets spilling. Was I their pawn, or the one moving the pieces? Marcus smashed my wedding photo. Did he think he could break me too? The rose garden's thorns gleamed outside, sharp as my growing resolve. The humid summer evening wrapped my suburban home in a heavy stillness, fireflies flickering beyond the windows. It was 2025, and the living room, with its faded family photos, felt like a battlefield. The rose garden loomed in the backyard, its pink blooms my only solace. I stood at the kitchen table, my hands gripping a plate of cornbread, the crumbs dusting my fingers. At 62, I'd sacrificed everything: nursing school for James's military career, my savings for Marcus's college. Now, his plan to steal the inheritance, confirmed by the note I'd found, fueled my anger. It wasn't just hurt anymore. It was a fire, ready to burn. Vanessa swept into the kitchen, her heels clicking, her voice sharp. "I'm tearing out that rose garden, Ellie," she announced, setting her coffee mug down with a clink. "It's tacky. A hot tub's more our style." At 38, she saw my home as her Instagram backdrop, a stage for her status. Marcus, slouched in a chair, nodded. "Ma's stuck in the past," he said, his eyes avoiding mine. His failed tech startup had left debts piling high, and my sacrifices, emptying my savings for his dreams, meant nothing. My jaw tightened, the cornbread plate trembling in my hands. "That garden's mine," I said, my voice low. Vanessa smirked, her nails tapping the table. "It's time for an upgrade." I carried the plate to the living room, my heart pounding. The wedding photo of James and me, framed in oak, sat on the mantel, our smiles frozen from 30 years ago. I clutched it, my fingers tracing the glass. Sophia followed, her city suit creased, her eyes heavy with guilt. At 35, she regretted our rift, my missed shift at her 18th birthday, when I worked for her braces. "Ma, don't fight them," she said, her voice soft. Jasmine, 17, hovered nearby, her braids swinging, her school stress making her cling to me. "They're wrong, Grandma," she whispered, her eyes fierce. I faced Marcus, the photo in my hands. "This house isn't yours," I said. He stood, his sneakers scuffing the hardwood. "It's ours now, Ma," he yelled, snatching the photo. He smashed it on the floor, glass shattering like my heart. Sophia gasped, "Marcus, stop!" Jasmine clutched my hand, her grip tight. The shards sparkled in the lamplight, each one a wound. Marcus's cruelty, born of his startup's collapse, cut deeper than his words. I'd built this home, patched its roof, paid its bills. They didn't get to shatter me. Sophia knelt, sweeping the glass, her hands shaking. "We'll fix this, Ma," she whispered, her guilt driving her closer. Jasmine's eyes blazed, her school struggles fueling her defiance. "He's awful," she said. I nodded, my anger a quiet storm. I pulled out my phone, texting Lily. "Sales closing soon?" Her reply buzzed, "Sunday, stay strong." Lily, 68, her own son lost to addiction, was my rock, her legal savvy my shield. I stepped outside, the rose garden scent heavy in the humid air. My fingers brushed a thorn, sharp and sure. Under a rock, a crumpled note lay, its ink smudged. "Inheritance papers are with Marcus's lawyer." My breath caught. Another piece of their plan laid bare. I tucked the note into my Bible, next to the sale agreement, my resolve unbreakable. Sophia's support, her birthday guilt fading, strengthened me. Jasmine's loyalty, her school stress eased by my fight, grounded me. Vanessa's arrogance, Marcus's desperation, they were blind to my power. I returned inside, the living room's broken glass glinting. Vanessa's voice drifted from the kitchen, on the phone. "We'll redecorate by next month," she said, smug. My fingers tightened on the Bible, the rose garden scent lingering, my fury a quiet fire. Did my son shatter my past or free my future? The sheriff's knock shook the block party. Did Marcus and Vanessa think they'd won forever? The rose garden glowed under the sun, its pink petals vibrant, ready to witness justice. Summer 2025 draped my suburban lawn in warmth, the block party alive with chatter. Tables sagged with grilled chicken and apple pie, the air thick with soul music from a crackling speaker. Neighbors laughed, their forks scraping plates, kids darting through the grass. My 3-bedroom home stood behind me, its rose garden a beacon of my sacrifices. Nights without heat for Marcus's college, nursing school dreams buried for James's military career. At 62, I stood behind a dessert table, slicing apple pie, my apron starched, my resolve steely, Marcus's slap, his smashed wedding photo, his plan to steal the inheritance. They'd lit a fire in me. Today, I'd reclaim my agency. I handed a plate to Mrs. Jenkins, her smile warm. "Ellie, your pie's divine," she said, her fork clinking. My chest tightened, but my hands stayed steady. Marcus and Vanessa mingled across the lawn, their laughter sharp, oblivious. Marcus, 38, was unraveling, his failed tech startup drowning him in debt. He thought my home was his lifeline. Vanessa, same age, played queen, her sunglasses glinting as she posted on Instagram. She saw my house as her throne. Sophia stood nearby, her city suit creased, her eyes proud. At 35, her guilt over our rift, my missed shift at her 18th birthday, had turned to loyalty. Jasmine, 17, hovered close, her braids swinging, her school stress eased by my fight. "You got this, Grandma," she whispered, her loyalty my anchor. Lily slipped through the crowd, her gray eyes sharp at 68, her own estrangement fueling her support. She nodded. "It's time, Ellie." The sheriff's car idled unnoticed, its engine a low hum. I sliced another pie, my knife steady, when a sharp knock cut through the music. The sheriff, badge glinting, stood at the porch. "Marcus Carter?" he called, his voice firm. Marcus froze, his beer bottle tilting. The sheriff handed him a paper, its edges crisp. "Property sold. Vacate in 30 days. Vanessa's laugh choked into a scream. "This is our home!" she shrieked, her sunglasses slipping. Marcus's face paled, his eyes darting to me. "You betrayed us, Ma!" he yelled, storming across the lawn. His hand lashed out, slapping my cheek, the sting sharp. Neighbors gasped, plates clattering. What would you do if your own child raised a hand against you in front of the whole neighborhood? This was the moment that changed everything for me. If you've ever felt betrayed by someone you loved most, drop a 6 in the comments so I know I'm not alone in this. Because what happens next still echoes in my bones. My face burned, but I didn't flinch. His desperation, born of debt, had turned him cruel, and the audience, my neighbors, felt the outrage I carried. Sophia lunged forward, her voice fierce. "You deserve this, Marcus!" Jasmine clapped, tears in her eyes, her loyalty blazing. I stood tall, my cheeks stinging, my voice steady. "You locked me out, Marcus. I held the deed." The crowd hushed, the soul music a faint hum. Lily stepped beside me, her bracelet clinking, her legal precision my shield. Her own son's rejection drove her to fight for me. I pulled James's letter from my pocket, its paper worn. My hands shook, but my resolve was iron. "James left me something," I said, my voice clear. "You hid it, Marcus." I unfolded the letter, the crowd leaning in. "I'm sorry, Ellie," I read aloud, my voice cutting through the air. "The inheritance is yours. Don't let Marcus take it." Gasps rippled, forks stilled. Marcus's jaw dropped, his hands trembling. Ma, I was desperate," he stammered. Vanessa lunged, her nails flashing. "You're nothing, Ellie," she spat. Sophia blocked her, her arms firm. "Back off, Vanessa," she shouted. Jasmine cheered, her voice high. The neighbors stared, their whispers like wind through the rose garden. I'd given everything, my dreams, my warmth, my home. They didn't get to steal my worth. My voice was louder than their greed, my truth ablaze. Lily slipped me her phone, a text glowing. "Sales final, sheriff's ready." My heart surged, the micro twist sealing my plan. The cash buyer was set, the house mine to sell. Marcus's slap, Vanessa's mockery. They'd pushed me too far. Sophia's loyalty, born of her birthday guilt, held me up. Jasmine's joy, freed from her parents' neglect, lit my path. My finger brushed the lighter in my pocket, its metal cool. The rose garden waited, its petals bright. I stepped toward it, the crowd parting, the soul music fading. I held the lighter to the letter, my eyes locked on the garden. Would I burn it? The block party's soul music faded as I moved, the lighter's flame flickering in my hand. Was my voice finally louder than their greed? I lit the match under James's letter. Could I rise from its ashes? The rose garden caught the falling ashes, holding my reclaimed truth. Late afternoon sun bathed my backyard rose garden, summer 2025. A soft breeze carried the scent of pink blooms, their petals vibrant against the green. Neighbors lingered on the lawn, their whispers a low hum after the block party's chaos. My 3-bedroom home loomed behind, its windows catching the light, soon to be sold. I stood in the garden, the lighter's flame flickering in my hand, James's letter trembling. At 62, I'd carried their weight. Marcus's greed, Vanessa's mockery, years of sacrifices for James's career and my kids' dreams. The sheriff's eviction notice, Marcus's slap, the letter's truth. They'd forged my resolve into liberation. Today, I'd redefine my family. The crowd watched, their plates still as the flame licked the letter's edge. Ashes curled, drifting into the rose garden. "I'm done carrying your regrets, James," I said, my voice clear. "And yours, Marcus." My hand steadied, the fire warm. I'd given up nursing school for James, skipped meals for Marcus's college, worked doubles for Sophia's braces. Marcus's plan to steal the inheritance, Vanessa's smug laughter. They'd pushed me too far. Neighbors gasped, their eyes wide. I was no longer the invisible mother, erased in my own home. My strength shone, bright as the roses. Marcus stood at the garden's edge, his face pale, his sneakers scuffing the grass. At 38, his failed tech startup had drowned him in debt, twisting him into someone who'd slap his own mother. "Ma, I was drowning in debt," he pleaded, his voice cracking. "I didn't mean it." His shame was raw, but his slap still stung my cheek. Vanessa, her sunglasses gone, snapped, "You're weak, Marcus!" Her voice was bitter, her control crumbling at 38. She stormed towards the house, her heels sinking in the grass. "You justified stealing my home," I said, my tone cold. The crowd murmured, their forks silent. Marcus's hands shook, his greed collapsed. "I'm sorry," he whispered, but I turned away, the ashes falling. Sophia stepped close, her city suit creased, her eyes wet. At 35, her guilt over our rift, my missed shift at her 18th birthday, had turned to fierce loyalty. "I'm so sorry, Ma," she said, hugging me, her arms tight. "You're my hero." Jasmine, 17, joined us, her braids swinging, her school stress eased by my stand. "You're unstoppable, Grandma," she said, her voice bright. Her loyalty, born of parental neglect, lit my heart. Lily approached, her gray hair catching the sun, her bracelet clinking. At 68, her own estrangement, her son lost to addiction, mirrored my victory. She handed me the sale check, its weight heavy in my palm. "You're free, Ellie," she whispered, her smile proud. The crowd's whispers softened, the breeze carrying the rose garden's scent. I knelt by the roses, my fingers brushing a hidden diary page tucked beneath a bloom. Its ink was faded, James's handwriting clear. "Let Ellie shine." My breath caught, tears pricking. James's wish, buried with his regret, was another spark. I stood, scattering the letter's ashes into the garden, their gray flecks blending with the soil. "This is mine now," I declared, my voice ringing. The crowd applauded, their claps sharp in the quiet. My liberation was complete, the garden my witness. I'd built this home, patched its roof, paid its bills. They didn't get to take my worth. Love should lift you, not lock you away. Sophia's reconciliation, rooted in her birthday guilt, cemented our bond. Her arms around me felt like home again. Jasmine's hope, freed from Marcus and Vanessa's neglect, bloomed like the roses. Marcus's remorse lingered, his slap a shadow, but I wasn't ready to forgive. Lily's pride, shaped by her own loss, steadied me. I walked toward the house, the crowd parting, their whispers fading. Inside, I packed for my condo, clothes, James's pocket watch, a few photos. In a box, I found his old jazz record, its cover worn. My fingers paused, the vinyl's weight pulling me back. Could I keep it or let it go? The rose garden's breeze carried the ashes as I packed, the jazz record's weight tugging me toward a new chapter. Did I burn their betrayal or my own chains? My condo smelled of mint and freedom. Could I live without their shadows? The balcony's rose bush bloomed, its pink petals mirroring my new start. Summer 2025 settled softly over my new condo, a small haven in our quiet suburban neighborhood. The balcony held a thriving rose bush, its roots deep in a clay pot, mint and cherry tomatoes tucked beside it. Fairy lights twinkled at dusk, their glow warm against the evening sky. A nearby coffee shop buzzed with soft chatter, its latte steam drifting down the street. At 62, I stood in my new living room unpacking boxes, the air clean of Marcus's greed and Vanessa's mockery. His slap, his shattered wedding photo still stung, but I was healing. My sacrifices. Nursing school for James's military career, savings for Marcus's college, had fueled this liberation. I was building a life free of betrayal. I lifted James's pocket watch from a box, its tick steady in my palm. I hung it on the wall, its brass glinting. His jazz record, though, stayed in the box, its cover worn. Too many memories clung to it, heavy with his distance. Sophia stepped beside me, her city suit swapped for jeans, her hands gentle on a stack of photos. At 35, her guilt over our rift, my missed shift at her 18th birthday, had turned to a fierce bond. "I'm here now, Ma," she said, her voice warm. "No more distance." We knelt by the balcony, planting the rosebush, its soil dark and rich. Her fingers pressed the earth, her smile soft. "This feels right," she said. I nodded, my chest light. The roses were mine again, like my heart. We walked to the coffee shop, the gravel crunching underfoot. Lily sat waiting, her gray hair catching the light, her latte steaming. At 68, her estrangement from her son, lost to addiction, deepened her pride in me. "Marcus and Vanessa split," she said, her bracelet clinking. "He's a mess." I shrugged, stirring my coffee, the spoon clinking. Their choices, not mine. Jasmine, 17, slid into the booth, her braids swinging. School stress, exams, cliques, her parents' neglect, still weighed on her, but her eyes were bright. "You make me brave, Grandma," she said, her voice clear. I squeezed her hand, my heart swelling. Her loyalty, born of my fight, was my anchor. Lily leaned forward. "You're thriving, Ellie," she said. I smiled, the coffee's warmth spreading through me. Back at the condo, we cooked fried catfish, the oil sizzling in the pan. A small radio played jazz, its notes soft. Sophia chopped onions, her laughter mixing with Jasmine's as they danced, their sneakers scuffing the floor. I watched, my spatula pausing. Family wasn't what it used to be. It was better, chosen. I pulled 2 keys from my pocket, their metal cool. "This is our home now," I said, handing one to Sophia, one to Jasmine. Sophia's eyes welled, her fingers closing tight. "Thank you, Ma," she whispered. Jasmine hugged me, her braid brushing my shoulder. "You're my home, Grandma." The catfish popped, the jazz hummed, and laughter filled the air. Life's funny. You lose what you thought was family, but find it in the ones who stay. Unpacking a box, I found a handwritten recipe card from my mother, tucked with a note, "You're stronger than you know." My breath caught, the paper soft. Her apple pie recipe, smudged with flour, felt like a gift. I set it on the counter, my fingers trembling. Sophia's reconciliation, rooted in her birthday guilt, had rebuilt our bond through these shared moments. Jasmine's hope, freed from Marcus and Vanessa's neglect, grew as she faced her school challenges. Lily's pride, shaped by her own loss, mirrored my healing. I stepped onto the balcony, the rose bush blooming vibrantly, its petals pink against the dusk. "I'm free," I whispered, my liberation tangible. But as I turned, a letter sat on the kitchen table, unopened, Marcus's handwriting scrawled across it. My heart skipped, the mint scent wrapping around me. Would I read his words? The fairy lights glowed, my peace steady but curious. Chapter 11, Facing the Past. 1 in 100 words, Marcus's letter begged for forgiveness. Could words heal what his hands broke? The rosebush's buds tightened on my balcony, like my heart guarding its peace. My condo's kitchen glowed under fairy lights, the air sweet with mint from the balcony. Summer 2025 settled softly, the suburban street quiet below. I sat at the table, Marcus's letter in my hands, his handwriting shaky. At 62, I was healing, my liberation hard won. His slap, the shattered wedding photo, his greed for the inheritance, they lingered like bruises. I'd given up nursing school for James's military career, poured savings into Marcus's college, only to be pushed aside. Now, my peace was mine, and I'd protect it. I unfolded the letter, the paper crinkling. "Ma, I'm sorry," it read. "Debt blinded me. I'm in counseling." My fingers paused, the words heavy. Marcus, 38, had let his failed tech startup turn him cruel, his debts driving him to betray me. I wasn't moved, not yet. His slap still stung my cheek, his broken photo frame sharp in my memory, but my heart, guarded as it was, cracked open enough to hear him out. I slipped the letter into my pocket, the balcony's rose bush blooming pink outside. Its buds were tight, wary, like me. I'd meet him, but trust was a long road. The church fish fry buzzed in the community lot, gospel music humming through the evening air. Plates clinked with cornbread and fried fish, the scent warm and familiar. Neighbors laughed, their voices mingling with the music's sway. I stood by a table, my apron tied, pouring lemonade, my hands steady. Sophia hovered nearby, her jeans loose, her eyes cautious. At 35, her guilt over our rift, my missed shift at her 18th birthday, had forged a bond stronger than ever. Jasmine, 17, stacked plates beside me, her braids swinging. School stress, exams, cliques, her parents' neglect, made her protective, her loyalty fierce. "You okay, Grandma?" she whispered, her eyes scanning the crowd. I nodded, my smile small but real. Marcus approached, his sneakers scuffing the grass, his face weary. His eyes, once sharp with greed, were dull, shadowed by shame. "I failed you, Ma," he said, his voice low. "I'm trying to change." The crowd's chatter faded, heads turning. My cheek burned with the memory of his slap, the glass he'd shattered. "You slapped me, Marcus," I said, my voice clear, cutting through the gospel hum. "Trust is earned, not begged." His shoulders slumped, his hands trembling. The neighbors watched, their forks still, sensing the weight of our words. I stood firm, my liberation a shield. I'd built his life and he'd tried to erase mine. Sophia stepped closer, her hand brushing mine. "Prove it, Marcus," she said, her tone sharp but steady. Her reconciliation, born of guilt, anchored us. Jasmine glared, her eyes fierce, handing me a lemonade, the glass cool. "He doesn't get it," she muttered, her protectiveness a fire stoked by her parents' neglect. Marcus looked at her, then me, his voice breaking. "I'll keep trying, Ma," he said, stepping back. I met his eyes, my voice calm. "You've got years to go, Marcus." The crowd nodded, their murmurs soft, respecting my strength. I wasn't here for his redemption, not yet. My peace came first. As I poured another lemonade, my fingers brushed a church flyer in my pocket. Marcus's handwriting scrawled across it. "I'll make this right, Ma." My breath caught, the paper soft. A micro twist, his words a flicker of hope, but not enough. His remorse, tied to his startup's collapse, was a start, but his betrayal lingered. Sophia's bond, healed through shared fights, was my foundation. Jasmine's loyalty, her school stress, eased by my stand, was my light. I tucked the flyer away, my heart steady. I'd given everything. My dreams, my warmth, my home. They didn't get to take my peace. I walked away from the fish fry, the gospel music softening, the flyer's weight light but present. The community center was a short walk, its doors open, women inside sharing stories like mine, mothers pushed aside, their sacrifices ignored. I joined them, their voices warm, their eyes reflecting my own. My strength radiated, a beacon for them. Could a son's regret rebuild what his hands destroyed? The fish fry's music faded as I stepped into the center, the flyer's promise lingering, my purpose rising. My rosebush bloomed 5 buds. Was this the peace I'd fought for? The roses glowed under fairy lights, my legacy rooted and thriving. Early fall 2025 settled over my condo's balcony, the air crisp, the fairy lights twinkling. The rosebush stood proud in its clay pot, its 5 pink buds vibrant beside mint and cherry tomatoes. My small home, tucked in our quiet suburban neighborhood, was my sanctuary. At 62, I was content. My journey from sacrifice to self-worth, complete. Marcus's slap, his shattered wedding photo, his greed for the inheritance, they'd faded like old scars. I'd given up nursing school for James's military career, poured savings into Marcus's college, but now I lived for me, my chosen family. The community center, bustling with women sharing stories, waited nearby. I stood at the kitchen counter, rolling dough for apple pies, the flour dusting my hands. Jasmine, 17, chopped apples, her braids swinging, her laughter bright. Her school stress, exams, cliques, her parents' neglect, eased in our moments together. Sophia joined us, her jeans loose, her smile warm. At 35, her guilt over our rift, my missed shift at her 18th birthday, had forged a new bond. "You're my home, Ma," she said, her knife slicing apples. We shared stories of my nursing dreams, the ones I'd buried for James. "You could still study, Ma," Sophia said, her eyes bright. Jasmine nodded. You're unstoppable, Grandma. The oven's warmth filled the room, the pie's scent mixing with mint. My heart swelled, this family chosen, not forced. I walked to the community center, the pie's foil crinkling in my hands. Women gathered inside, their voices soft, sharing stories of betrayal like mine. Mothers pushed aside, their sacrifices ignored. I set the pie down, the tablecloth rustling. Lily, 68, stood beside me, her gray hair catching the light, her bracelet clinking. Her estrangement from her son, lost to addiction, mirrored my healing. "You're changing lives, Ellie," she said, her smile proud. I shared my story, the guest room, the letter, the sale. The women nodded, their eyes reflecting my own pain, their hands clapping softly. I was their voice now, my liberation a beacon. Marcus's absence, his remorse too late, underscored my boundaries. Sophia's bond, healed through reconciliation, was my foundation. Jasmine's hope, freed from neglect, mirrored my freedom. I stopped by my old house, the pie warm in my hands. The new owners, a young couple, opened the door, their baby cooing. "I'm Ellie," I said, handing them the pie. "This house holds love. Keep it alive." The wife smiled, her fingers brushing the foil. "We will," she said. I walked away, the rose garden scent faint behind me, my steps light. I didn't look back, my smile steady. Back on my balcony, I found a photo tucked in a book, a younger me in a nursing uniform, my dreams still bright. My breath caught, the paper soft. My mother's words echoed, "You're stronger than you know." It was a gift, a symbol of reclaimed dreams. I set it beside the rose bush, its 5 buds open, pink and proud. Sophia's bond, Jasmine's hope, Lily's pride, they were my family now. Marcus's shadow lingered, but I'd chosen peace over resentment. I sipped tea, the mug warm, the fairy lights glowing. "I'm enough," I whispered, my peace complete. Sometimes you don't lose a son, you find yourself. The fairy light's glow wrapped me as I sipped tea, the rose bush's scent sealing my journey. The note I found in the rose garden still burns in my mind, its words urging me to fight for what's mine. As I stand on the edge of reclaiming my home, my heart carries the weight of Marcus's betrayal, but also Sophia's regret and Jasmine's unwavering love. Family isn't just blood, it's the ones who see your worth when others turn away. In life, we may sacrifice everything for those we love, but true bonds grow from respect, not obligation. When we listen and hold space for each other, we rebuild what's broken. My journey taught me to stand tall, to choose myself without losing love's warmth. If this story touched you, share your own in the comments. I'd love to hear how you found your strength. Your voice matters, and together, we can keep these stories alive.